So where does everybody stand heading in? Here's a positional breakdown of the current roster, with rookies denoted by asterisks on the screen and roster locks, in my opinion, bolded. These positions are ranked in the order roughly that I believe them to be in here at the starting line of the competition. First up, quarterbacks. No surprise here. Cam Ward, Will Levis, Brandon Allen, and Tim Boyle in that order. Cam Ward is the only thing about this quarterback room that is set in stone. Will Levis still stands to be traded eventually, and Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle offer minimal assurance as backups. The 2025 Titans are set up to live and die by Cam Ward, and I have an article linked in the description below that you can read about why I believe that's actually the smartest thing they can do in this year of a rebuild. Next up, the receivers. At number 1, Calvin Ridley, followed by Tyler Lockett, Alec Ayemaner, Chimere Dike, Bryce Oliver, Van Jefferson, James Prochet, Xavier Restrepo, Treylon Burks, TJ Sheffield, Mason Kinsey, Jaquan Jackson, and Colton Dowell. The Titans have a pair of vets and a pair of rookies locked in on the wide receiver depth chart. Beyond them, I think it's going to be a 4-man race for 2 or maybe 3 openings. Van Jefferson certainly enters the summer with a clear edge on the next roster spot, but his ceiling at this point in his career makes him susceptible to somebody with more upside showing out and passing him up. Bryce Oliver will easily make this team, in my opinion, if he continues on the trajectory that he was on last season, and James Prochet is in the running because of his special teams utility. I kind of suspect he may just be new special teams coordinator John Fossil's guy. And then UDFA rookie Xavier Restrepo has a lot of talent and built-in chemistry with Cam Ward, but his one-dimensional skill set as a slot-only player leaves him an uphill climb to take one of those seats. If you're part of the Tennessee faithful, you know just how many years the Titans have shaved off your life with the emotional roller coaster of sports. Or maybe the roller coaster of life is messing with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story. BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. They are our incredible sponsor for this video. Regardless, if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools you need to approach your life in a very different way. That's where our sponsor, BetterHelp, comes into play. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost if it's not the right fit. BetterHelp's platform makes finding a therapist easier because it's online and remote. BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. Plus, with our link, you get 10% off your first month. Start fresh any day of the year with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/ATOZsports and get 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp. At running back, Tony Pollard is followed by Tajay Spears, Khalil Mullings, Julius Chestnut, and Micah Bernard. The running back room is all but set following the draft. The Titans went into the offseason looking for a third change of pace back, and I think they found one in 6th-round pick Khalil Mullings. They wanted a guy who's a traditional between-the-tackles runner on dirty work downs, and Mullings is going to be that for them. At tight end, maybe a bit surprising the order here, Chigakonkwo, Gunnar Helm, Josh Wiley, Thomas Odukoya, and David Martin Robinson. I put 4th-round rookie Gunnar Helm at number 2 in the tight end room because unless Josh Wiley has a strong summer and a breakout season, I don't think I see him beating out Helm for the starting Y or inline tight end role. Helm joins the team with adequate blocking ability and real receiving upside out of the box. I think he'll be productive in his first year. All right, let's talk about the big boys. At offensive tackle, your starters are J.C. Latham and Dan Moore at right and left, respectively. John Ojukwu, Blake Hance, and Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon. Now, Dan Moore is starting at left tackle, J.C. Latham starting at right, and then beyond them, this room's a wide open competition. So much so that I wouldn't count out UDFA rookie Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon to push for a roster spot. Honestly, this college tackle may very well end up bumped inside due to his athleticism constraints, but the point remains. This guy could make the roster because on the offensive line, beyond the starters, it's wide open. The Titans need anybody to emerge as a viable swing tackle this year, or things could get really ugly at the first sight of an injury to Latham or Moore. You're going to see a common theme as we move on to guards. Peter Skoronski and Kevin Zeitler are your starters on the left and right side. Then rookie Jackson Slater, for the sake of getting this name right, Oli Udoh, Andrew Rupchich, and Chandler Brewer. Now, Peter Skoronski enters year 3 at left guard, and free agent pickup Kevin Zeitler is going to start at right guard. 5th-round rookie Jackson Slater, also on the developmental timeline, in my opinion, that's going to see him potentially taking over at right guard in 2026 if all goes to plan. So those three are your locks. I think the hope is that he can be your primary swing guard this season. Now, beyond them, the competition also wide open. Rupchich and Udo enter with an edge thanks to their experience, but it's really anybody's ball game. Finally, at center, Lloyd Cushenberry is your starter, assuming he comes back healthy. Sam Mustipher, Corey Levin, and Brendan James. Assuming Cushenberry's Achilles recovery continues to progress on time, which at the time of this video, that's happening, he's your starter at center. After that, there's a deep room of contestants to claim the backup position. Now, Titans resident roster cockroach, which I say in a complimentary manner, Corey Levin played admirably in relief a handful of games last season, so he probably enters camp with the edge. But newcomer Sam Mustipher has a lot of snaps under his belt at the position as well and was brought in for a reason. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, in the trenches, defensive linemen, Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, and Sebastian Joseph Day are your starters. Then we've got Keandre Coburn, James Lynch, Cam Horsley, Devontae O'Malley, Philip Bleedy, Isaiah Rakes, and Carlos Watkins. The Titans have their clear three starters at the top of the list, but beyond them, Keandre Coburn and James Lynch lead the pack of the competition after showing some utility last season. Tennessee would love to see one of their UDFA additions in particular emerge over the summer to prove to be a value pickup. On the edge, your starters are going to be a rotation of Draymond Jones, Femi Oladejo, and Arden Key, followed by Jalen Harrell, Lorenzo Carter, Ali Gay, Titus Leo, and Desmond Evans. The Titans' edge group remains thin, but the overall group is a bit stronger than it was this time last year. Jones, Oladejo, and Key constitute the main rotation, and then the Titans hope to see Jalen Harrell take a year-two leap and join them. Lorenzo Carter is a free agent addition out of Atlanta who has shown he can be useful in rotation as well. But beyond that, he's kind of thin. At inside linebacker, Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, James Williams, Otis Reese, David Benda, Curtis Jacobs, Amani Burney, and Anthony Orji constitute that room. The Titans added free agent Cody Barton from Denver to head up the room, but the plan beside him is TBD. It could be James Williams, it could be Cedric Gray, it could be Otis Reese. Those are the three mainly contending. They're hoping one of those guys emerges and claims the mantle and makes it obvious. That year two competition in particular between Williams and Gray, I think, is one that is going to be exciting to see play out over the summer. But they just really need one of them to rise up. Also, don't rule out UDFA David Benda out of Texas. He's a guy that has everything that you want on paper. He's the athlete you're looking for. He had production in college. Frankly, he should have been a draft pick. This room is open enough for him to make a rise. If he has a strong summer, he's probably going to be in the conversation to maybe even be in the rotation this year. At cornerback, your starters are L'Jarius Sneed, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., and Roger McCreary. Then you've got a laundry list of guys fighting for the backup roles. Marcus Harris, Daryl Baker Jr., Amani Uruwarie, Gabe Judy-Lally, Jermari Harris, Clarence Lewis, Jalen Kimber, and Davian Ross. And this list tends to change every day. So if you're watching this saying, that guy's gone, or where's the guy that they added? Sorry, this was recorded when it was recorded, and it's a list that's almost certain to change a couple of times before the final cut down. Now, the Titans went out and stacked this room full of guys that are interchangeable and constantly fighting in the competition behind Sneed, Brownlee, and McCreary on purpose. I put Marcus Harris in bold to make him a lock because you get drafted for a reason, and he was a sixth-round pick. They usually have to work pretty hard to lose their roster spot over their first summer. You were invested in. He's going to be fighting for a spot, though, on the pecking order at least, along with the other guys behind him. Denard Wilson's going to break a pool cue like 8 or 9 ways, throw the scraps onto the field, and dare somebody to show out amongst the rest. At safety, you've got Amani Hooker, Xavier Woods, and rookie Kevin Winston Jr. as your locks, followed by Mike Brown, Julius Wood, Kendall Brooks, Mark Perry, and Jaron Thompson. Drafting Kevin Winston Jr. on day 2 was the perfect way to round out the Titans' rotation at this position alongside Hooker and Woods. Guys like Mike Brown and Julius Woods have a chance to get onto the final roster as well, but primarily in special teams roles. Speaking of special teams, we end with the specialists. You've got your punter, Johnny Hecker, your kicker, Joey Sly, and your long snapper, of course, Morgan Cox. Now, I'm not listing players twice on this list, so here is where I'm going to point to who is in the running for kicking and punt returning duties. Expect a competition for both roles over the summer that includes wide receiver Chimere Dike, wide receiver James Prochet, running back Tajay Spears, wide receiver Bryce Oliver, wide receiver Xavier Estrepo, wide receiver Mason Kinsey, and running back Julius Chestnut, amongst probably a couple other players who are more unlikely to make the roster. For A to Z Sports Nashville, I'm Easton Freeze.